We're here today at Dickerson Park Zoo with zookeeper Ken Harmon. We're just going to ask him a few questions and then maybe take some photos or some video throughout Dickerson Park Zoo in Springfield, Missouri. But thought this might be interesting because there are a lot of students that are interested in what's it take to be a zookeeper, or they want to work with animals, and so this may be a good opportunity for them to learn a little bit about what it takes to be a zookeeper. So Ken, let's start off with maybe just telling us a little bit about yourself.
I started at the zoo in about 1990. I just graduated college, didn't really know what I was going to do, and came here to just volunteered. And I liked it, and I never left.
Where did you go to college?
Animal science.
Animal science?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I moved up to the general curator position about 2 years ago.
Okay. So general curator put you worked your way up
yes.
into...
Yeah, and I'm over the animal collection at the zoo.
We got some visitors here. So one of them's name is Gilbert, and the other is...
She's just a number.
She's a number.
Yeah. Most of our animals are ID'd.
Uh-huh.
So they have a number ID to keep track of them.
All right.
So the keepers give them house names, but that's their ID.
Oh, gotcha.
That's their number.
So it's interesting, you went to school for animal science and weren't sure just quite what you were going to do, but you finished your degree and then started volunteering and fell in love.
Yes, and never left.
Uh-huh. Wow. Been here a while.
Been here a while. I've seen a lot of changes.
Did you go to SMS?
Yes.
And in Springfield?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you want to become a zookeeper? I guess volunteering here and then...
Volunteering, and then my background, I was from an agriculture background, and basically the zoo's just a large farm, just different animals. They're in confinement.
Mm-hmm.
It's the difference. So it's we have to feed, clean. It's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of. We do get to play with the animals, but we also have to take care of them. I mean, that involves a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Just
Meet their needs,
physical labor
needs.
type
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
So if you're not comfortable with doing physical labor,
Yes.
maybe this wouldn't be
the job for you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, some of the schools that will watch this video, we've done job shadows here. We've brought groups in, and every time we come here, regardless of weather, we work.
Yes.
It's been muddy and cold and sleety and
it's
honest.
Just like a farm. It's 365 days a year. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas or Thanksgiving. You still have to come in and feed the animals.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't take a day off?
No,
so
they don't take a day
off.
off, so we don't have to.
So if the student wanted to be a keeper, what training or college or certificates would they need?
They need at least a Bachelor of Science. A lot of our keepers have masters. But probably the key to getting a zoo job is doing an internship.
Mm-hmm.
It's good for the student that they get to see if this is really what they want to do. They'll spend about 150 hours, roughly, at the zoo, basically being an assistant keeper. They help the keepers feed and clean the animals, do projects, and it just lets them get a taste of it. For employment standpoint, they get their foot in the door. They develop some contacts because it's a very limited field. There's not a lot of positions in the country. Once you get your foot in the door, you can kind of go anywhere you want to, but you have to make that first step and develop those contacts.
Right. We talk to students a lot about networking, and so
Yes.
in this field, networking is particularly
Very
important.
Yes.
Right. But then once you're in, if you say, you know what, I'd like to move to St. Louis, then you being the general curator could put in a good word for that student or that person.
I actually have a map of the United States in my office with little pins all over it, and that's previous interns.
Is that right? That you sent on?
Yeah.
That's neat. That's
Yeah. Kind of like a little farm system.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So.
And a legacy of what Dickerson Park Zoo has done for zoos throughout the country.
Yes.
You mentioned the bachelor degree, so that's a 4-year degree. And what would the major be? What would be the most important?
Typically, we have either animal science, wildlife conservation, biology. Those are the three main degrees.
And some of those, as I've worked with students, could take you in a lot of different tracks too.
Sure.
You know, with the Department of Conservation or
one of our previous students started as an intern, or worker started as an intern, went back and got her degree, and now she's, just for example, she's at San Diego Wild Animal Park as a reproductive physicist.
Oh wow!
That's what she does.
Uh-huh.
So she's breeding rhinos using in vitro. She's doing a lot of cool work. So.
That's a critical stuff right now with those.
So it's kind of neat
animals.
that they started, you know, just as an intern and worked their way up.
Many times you start on a path to do a particular job that you want to do, and circumstances or experiences make you maybe go a different direction, and so it's neat that those particular degrees allow you to move and change.
It's a very versatile degree.
What's your favorite part about being a keeper or a general curator?
I like the variance in the job. You know, it's not ever, we don't just come in and do one thing every day. We really never know what we're going to be doing. We may have, we might have an animal get sick. We might have an animal hurt itself. We have to deal with that. Or, we may be building an exhibit. You just never know what's going to happen. Because they're live animals, so nothing's ever the same.
Right.
And I like that.
You probably have some routines, and then a lot of time that's not routine.
Yeah. You also, if you like to travel, you get to travel quite a bit. A lot of our keepers go all across the country. They may drive a giraffe to Seattle, things like that. It's a long drive. You don't get to stop. It's a 30-hour drive. So, but you get to travel, get to go through things like that, go to conferences. It just depends. As far as I've gone is Sri Lanka, which is
that's a long
ways.
Hopefully you get to stop along the way.
But that's kind of the perks. You get to go places occasionally. And then you have a lot of hard work, but then you get a lot of rewards also. I mean, whenever you breed an animal that's extremely endangered, for instance, our cheetahs, that's kind of that's neat to be able to do that. So, some of our animals have actually gone on to other places that have repopulated wild populations.
Oh wow!
So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, that was a big triumph and step to be able to repopulate in the wild. What's your least favorite?
Having to, you have to realize that all of these animals are living animals, and so it's just like your dog. Occasionally you get very attached to them, and eventually they move on, and that's kind of the rough part, is you have to deal with that part too.
Right.
So because, like this guy, you get pretty attached to him, even though he's kind of ornery, he still has a personality.
Yeah.
Well, I like to ask students why they want to, when they tell me what they may want to do for a career in the future, I like to ask the why. And many times when students say zookeeper or veterinarian or something of that nature, it's because they love animals. Yes. So it's probably true of anybody that works in this field that they love animals, and probably their least favorite is probably the same thing.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah. If a student wanted to look into becoming a zookeeper, what could they expect for income range?
They definitely aren't going to do it to get rich. It's similar to probably a teacher's salary. They'll top out. They start in around 25 or 30, and then they go up into the 40s. It moves up pretty fast. And then if they want to make more money, then they can work their way up into more of the management type jobs.
So when you're thinking about your motivation, money's not going to be it. No. It's going to be because I love animals, or maybe an attachment to helping animals that are endangered, or something of that nature. It's true of a lot of jobs.
Oh, yes.
I tell students if money is your primary motivation, you might have a hard time sticking with that job over a period of time. So Ken, you mentioned the salary, income range that students can expect. What are some other benefits that they may have if they're working at the zoo?
Well, the big one is that if they decide, once they're employed, if they want to advance their degree, so work on their master's, PhD, they can go to school, and as long as they make A's, it's 100% paid for. They'll pay for up to $2,500 per year. There's not very many classes at a university, but it does over time. That's about all you can take anyway while you're working full time. So we've had several of our, including myself, go back and get their masters. One's gone on and got her PhD. So it just very.
What about like insurance and retirement?
We have full insurance, full retirement. We have. It's one of the few companies that are around anymore that has a pension. You can, you work and then you draw the pension at the end.
If you were working on your undergraduate, are there benefits similar to that of the master's degree, where maybe you get some tuition reimbursement?
If you're a full-time employee, you can get your bachelor's. It's just very hard if you don't have a special skill set to even get an interview anymore. If you don't have that bachelor's to make that first cut. So anytime we have a job opening, we'll have 200 apply.
Oh wow!
And so I'm not going to interview 200 people, so I have to make a cut somewhere.
What's the typical path? I mean, you mentioned it before about the internship, but is that a typical path for
Very typical.
a keeper?
Yeah.
So
I would say over 75-80% of our current employees are old interns of ours. So we that's what I mean, that it helps you, is that you develop those contacts as you get. You start here, and then you can move on to wherever you want to go.
So as an intern, is that something that would happen while you're working on your
Your
degree?
undergrad, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if you wanted to do something, maybe you're a junior in high school and you wanted to try to get your foot in the door a little earlier? Are there opportunities for those students?
Yes, we have some of our interns are actual high school. It's not a lot, but we have a couple right now.
Probably students that are a little more local that can get here on a weekday or a weekend or something of that nature.
Usually within a few county areas here is where those come from.
And those high school interns or volunteers, they would be like an assistant keeper, kind of like with the college students?
Basically do the same thing. Like any job, you're going to start we're going to put you in kind of a basic area to make sure that you can do it. And then as you prove yourself, then we move you to other little bit more difficult areas, more challenging areas. Might be a little bit more dangerous. We don't start people in the line exhibit.
Okay. So, yeah, we heard him as we were walking out here. It's a little intimidating to hear him. There's something inside of a human, I think, that when they hear that, they cringe just for a moment. So we're kind of down to our last question, but I wanted to kind of throw in an extra one. What would be some skills that a student or somebody that was looking at applying for a position here, what would be some skills that they may need to have from the get-go?
Practice your, we since it is kind of a farm, you end up doing a lot of different things, so you might need, it's good to know how to weld, it's good to know how to build things. It's also good to know, to take a lot of science classes, because there's a lot of science involved, especially in like the hospital areas. There's a lot of, we do a lot of research also, and so that's helpful. But just the willingness to learn. That's the key. Is because if we get somebody, if they're willing to learn, we can teach them. But that's what it takes.
Right. I see some folks here that work at the zoo have to have they have interaction with the community quite a bit, so maybe some communication skills might also be good.
Our keepers will end up, they do a lot of interviews with TV, radio, you name it. So they need, and then or just with other school groups, talking to the general public. You have to we do keeper chats is what we call them during the summer, and you'll have anywhere from 30 to 100 people there. So you have to be used to being able to talk in front of a group.
So being a
speaking
keeper,
skills are good.
that'd be good.
So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
that's they're going to take a class in their undergrad, in their bachelor's degree for public speaking.
Yes.
So so a student doesn't think, well, if I'm a keeper, then I just talk to the vultures
No.
and that's it. Sometimes
Right.
they may be asked
Sure.
to speak to groups.
Yeah.
All right. You've kind of given us some advice about the internships and the pathway to becoming a keeper. What other advice would you give somebody who might be interested in becoming a zookeeper?
Just learn as much as you can about, these animals. They're very, from the science standpoint, they're very difficult to take care of. There's tons of data on how to feed dogs and cats and horses, but not a lot on king vultures and not a lot on giraffes. We're always trying to fine-tune diets because all these animals have evolved in certain sections of the world, and a lot of those foodstuffs aren't available here, so we have to try to mimic that. Like a giraffe would eat acacia leaves. We don't have those here. So the best we can come up with right now is alfalfa, but they're always tweaking the diets and always lots of research going on. So, take those science classes.
Science classes be a big one.
Yeah.
I imagine. Well, Ken, is there anything else you'd like to mention to students who may be watching?
We'll be glad to, whenever you guys can come back, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We want to get you here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I can't wait. Students who know me and the schools who know me know that one of my favorite things is to get students out of school and to actually experience those jobs firsthand.
That's what I put on, when I do the evaluations for the MU students is that they ask if it's should we give them credit for their class, and it's the answer is definitely yes. It's because they're gaining a lot of skills that you can't teach in a traditional classroom.
For sure.
And that's helpful for us, and it's helpful for them.
Well, Ken, we really appreciate your time,
and
Dickerson Park Zoo has always been such a great partner for what we're trying to accomplish with students. So, just really grateful for you hosting us today.
Grateful to have you guys.
All right.
I'm so happy to be here with you as well. What other job opportunities are there here at Dickerson Park Zoo?
In addition to zookeeping, there are we have concessions. We have people that work the gates where people come in and out, take money. There's administration jobs. There are vet tech and veterinarian jobs.
Awesome. What's the youngest age you hire for like the cafeteria and things like that?
They will hire down to I think 16, 17.
Awesome.
Just there's just different rules that we have to follow for that.
Ken, what is your favorite animal?
The giraffes. They're from my background. They're ruminants like a cow, so they're from my favorite. And cheetahs, I like those.
I like those choices. Those are cool. Yeah. Ken, would you mind telling us what ruminator means?
Ruminant?
Ruminant, sorry.
It means they have a four stomachs.
Give it to her.
Not really they have multiple sections. They've evolved to eat very quickly in the wild, and then go down so they're not exposed to predators as much. and then they go ruminate that food, chew it. If you'll watch cows, you'll see them chewing. Some people call it chewing their cud. They're breaking it down more. They actually have a large vat, which is the rumen, that has billions of bacteria in it, and they break down the cellulose, the stuff that we can't digest, and they can't. So that's why they can eat. That's why they can eat grass. They have kind of a symbiotic relationship. They feed the bacteria, and the bacteria feed them.
The last question I have is, all good workers have to start somewhere. So, what were some of your very first jobs?
My very first job at the zoo was at being an elephant ride attendant. And I walked circles for the entire summer with an elephant. That was back when we were free contact and you actually people got on the elephants' backs and rode them. So things have changed a lot. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But, and then also whenever I was a kid, I would haul hay. And then I tried sales for a little while. And I found that wasn't for me. So,
I'm glad you tried it.
yeah, but you should try everything.
Yeah,
So,
good to learn about that. I agree. Sales is only for certain personalities. Yes. And I've been talking to students that are really good at that, and I'm just always in awe. So anyway, Ken, thank you again so much. It was great speaking with you.